The Thing in the Trees, as told by Michael Johnson, happened in the mountains of Montana, springtime. You ever wonder what evil really is? I mean, not the textbook kind, not sin, not temptation. I'm talking about the sort of evil that walks on two legs, through the woods at night, breathing steam into the air like a furnace, with eyes like lit coals and claws that could gut a deer in one swipe. The kind of evil they never taught us about in seminary. My name's Michael Johnson. I'm a priest, born and raised in Seattle. Been serving my parish for close to 15 years now. Folks know me as the quiet type, good listener, watch a movie or two when I've got time, old black and white horrors mostly. Always thought they were just fun, fiction. That changed last spring. It was early May. The thaw had just started creeping down the ridges of the Montana wilderness. I'd been invited by an old seminary friend, Isaac, to go hiking with his group of 4. Good for the soul, he said. Fresh air, wilderness, quiet. I needed a break. My sermons had started to ring hollow, even to me. So we packed our gear and headed into the mountains near the Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness. It was supposed to be a day hike. Isaac brought his nephew Josh, a wiry, sharp-eyed kid in his early 20s, and a couple from his church named Ben and Margot, both in their late 30s, married 10 years, survival hobbyists. Ben always carried a hunting knife on his belt, like a sheriff in some spaghetti western. Margot? She was the only one with actual bear spray. The forecast said scattered rain, but Montana had other plans. By the time we got deep into the trail, the sky turned a furious charcoal, and wind whipped through the trees, like the moans of some angry spirit. Rain started to fall, not in drops but in sheets, and the trail all but disappeared under our boots. We decided to find cover, maybe a cave or overhang, something to wait out the weather. That's when things started to feel wrong. At first it was small stuff. Josh said he saw something in the trees. We laughed. Probably a bear, Isaac said, but Josh wasn't smiling. Then we found a carcass. It was a mule deer. What was left of it anyway. The thing had been torn apart. Not chewed like a mountain lion would do, but sliced. One clean slash down its belly, entrails strewn across the moss like someone painting with guts. No scavenger signs, no bite marks. I knelt beside it. Flies hadn't even touched it yet. Whatever did this, did it recently. Ben muttered something under his breath. Margot grabbed her bear spray and kept it in her hand. Let's keep moving, Isaac said. We found a small hollow beneath a rocky outcrop as the storm worsened. The wind screamed down the mountain like a freight train. Trees bent like old men in prayer. The sun was gone, vanished behind thunderclouds, and everything was grey, soaked and cold. That's when the real horror started. I swear to God, I heard it before I saw it. Breathing, heavy, wet, like something with a wide chest and animal lungs, from just beyond the tree line. Josh stood up, staring into the trees. There, he whispered, something's moving. We all froze. Then I saw them, 2 glowing dots, low to the ground at first, then they rose up and up. Eyes, red, glinting like coals, taller than any man. It stayed in the shadows between trees, stalking, watching. Then it moved. Fast, a blur, circling us, keeping just out of sight. We heard it more than saw it. Twigs snapping, deep growls, the rush of something big on two legs. Ben pulled his knife. Margot clicked her bear spray canister. Isaac picked up a thick branch, and me, I fumbled for the crucifix around my neck. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes. Time twisted in that place. Eventually the storm lessened, but night came too fast, and with it, the cold. We had no choice but to stay. We made a small fire, kept shifts, no one slept. That's when I remembered the movie. Some B-movie from the 70s, Dogman of Michigan or something. Low budget, terrible effects, but one detail stood out to me then and chilled me now. The creature in the film, half wolf, half man, would circle its victims first, watching, judging, then it would pick the weakest. I looked around our circle. Josh was shivering. Ben's hands trembled. Margot hadn't spoken in hours. That's when it struck. A snarl tore through the night, like a saw through bone. Something hit Ben so hard, he flew back 6 feet and slammed into a tree. Blood poured from his shoulder. "Run!" Margot screamed, but it was already in our circle. Massive, 7, maybe 8 feet tall, muscles under patchy, matted fur. Wolf's head, with jaws too wide and eyes too human. Its claws dripped from Ben's blood. Isaac swung his branch and hit it, barely staggering it. Josh tried to stab it. The knife hit its side and broke, just snapped off. I grabbed the burning branch from the fire and shoved it towards its face. The beast recoiled. Fire. It didn't like fire. We circled close, keeping the flames between us and it. I pulled a flask of holy water from my bag. Just habit, really. I didn't expect it to work, but when I splashed it on the creature's chest, it howled, shrieked like it was being torn in half. Smoke rose from its fur. Margot grabbed the burning log and waved it toward the beast. "Back," she shouted, and it backed, reluctantly, then vanished into the woods. We carried Ben. He was bleeding badly, but alive. His collarbone shattered, arm torn. We found a small ranger station on a ridge line the next morning, maybe 5 miles down. Radioed for help. They airlifted him out. I told the forest rangers a bear attacked us. They didn't ask questions. Not when they saw the claw marks on Ben, or the strange tracks, like a wolf's paw but longer, with heel imprints like a man's. I tried to go back to normal, Seattle, my church, the sermons. But every night, when the wind howls, I remember the eyes, the thing in the trees, the dogman. I still watch horror movies sometimes, not for fun anymore, just to remind myself what's out there, to study, to prepare. Because whatever that thing was, it wasn't the only one, and someday it might come looking again. It wasn't the storm that tried to kill us, as told by Arthur Davidson. Let me start by saying this. I've pulled people out of burning buildings. I've heard the screaming metal of collapsed roofs and felt the heat of a fire so close it roasted the hair off my arms. But what I lived through that spring day in mountains of Maine, that wasn't natural. And it wasn't something you can fight with a fire hose or a Haugen bar. No, this was something older, meaner. They say don't talk about these things, that it makes you sound crazy. Maybe I am, but I know what I saw, and I can't keep it anymore. I'm Arthur Davidson, born in Fremont, Nebraska, now living down in western Pennsylvania, with my wife Linda and our twin boys, Jake and Trevor. I work as a firefighter in a mid-sized town. Weekends, weekends, I tinker with my old 68 Charger, still trying to get her to stop rattling above 50 miles per hour. Back in April, right after Easter, I took a few days off. Me and a few guys from the firehouse decided to hit the mountains for a hiking trip. Just a quick one-day outing up in Maine. No overnight bags, just weather gear, protein bars, and a six-pack waiting in the truck cooler for when we get back. It was me, Craig, our squad captain, tough as nails and always packing his damn hunting knife, Kevin, our rookie who talks too much, and Rob, the quiet one who always brings a portable ham radio, just in case. We headed out to the western slopes of the Bigelow Preserve. The plan was simple: follow the fire warden's trail, eat lunch at the ridge and make it back before the rain hit. But like most plans involving nature and God knows what else, things didn't go our way. It was early afternoon when the storm moved in, fast. 1 second we were basking in that cool spring sunlight, and the next, clouds as black as oil poured over the ridge. Kevin laughed it off, said it gave the place horror movie vibes. I laughed too, at this time. But then I remembered something. Back in high school, I used to read those trashy yellow newspapers, you know the kind, two-headed baby found in Tennessee, or UFO shuts down dairy farm, mostly nonsense. But there were always those Bigfoot stories, always in places like these, deep woods, northern mountains, somewhere quiet and forgotten. Maine came up more than once. I used to chuckle, but that day, something about that memory made my skin crawl. We picked up the pace, rain lashing down on us now. Our gear soaked, boots slipping in mud, trees swayed and creaked in the wind. And then we started hearing something else. Not the wind, not the rain. Breathing. Deep, hoarse, like an animal with a chest the size of a car hood. Heavy thuds, not many, just enough to tell us something was moving slowly behind us. I turned. There was nothing there. Then Rob whispered, "Did you see that?" Kevin spun around. "What?" "Back there, something ducked behind that tree." Craig told us to shut up, keep moving, but we couldn't unhear it. The day the forest had gone silent, except for our boots and the breathing that didn't belong to us. Not 5 minutes later, we saw the first sign. Scratches on a thick pine tree, way too high up for any bear. 3 deep gouges, like claws, running down the bark, like someone had tried to peel it open. "Moose?" Kevin asked. Craig looked pale. "Moose didn't do that." That's when we made the call. We were turning back. Ridge be damned. We took a different path, one we thought would lead us back down faster. It didn't. By 5 p.m., the storm had swallowed the sky. Visibility was down to 10 feet. Fog began to rise from the ground, snaking between the trees like fingers. Craig checked the GPS on his watch and cursed. Dead. We decided to hunker down in a grove of boulders, natural cover, close quarters. We had flares, a few camping tools, even a hatchet in Rob's bag. But no tent, no firewood, and now, no way back. We weren't alone either. It came again around dusk, the breathing, closer this time. We circled up, backs to each other. Then a rock, fist-sized, came sailing out of the trees and hit Kevin in the leg. "What the hell?" he shouted. But there was nothing, just trees. Then a shadow moved, too tall and too fast, behind a split trunk about 20 feet out. I raised my flashlight. Nothing. Then Craig whispered, "Up." We looked. Atop a thick branch, maybe 12 feet high, something crouched, big hunched. Its eyes glowed amber red in the beam of the light. It leapt, not toward us but away, vanishing into the mist. We didn't sleep. Every hour or so it would circle, knocking against trees, breathing, sometimes making this low, warbling howl that sounded like it came from everywhere at once. At one point we lit a road flare and saw it, crouched peeking from behind a tree. Massive shoulders, matted brown hair, long arms hanging lower than they should have, and its face, not quite ape, not quite man. Then it was gone again. We didn't talk, we just sat there, weapons clutched in hand. The hatchet, a survival knife, even a fire poker Craig had in his bag for cooking. Rob kept whispering to himself, prayers maybe. I tried doing the same, but it wasn't until around 3 a.m. that things really went bad. Kevin had to pee. Craig told him to go into the bush. Just 10 feet out. We'll cover you, he said. Kevin stepped out. We kept our lights on him. But then the fog rolled in thicker, and in seconds he was just a shape. Then a scream. We bolted. Kevin was on the ground. Something had grabbed his leg. Big handprints in the mud, dragging him. Craig and I pulled him back, just as the thing roared from the dark, a guttural, teeth-grinding sound that made the bones in my chest shake. I swung the hatchet wildly, not even looking, and hit something. It shrieked, not like a wounded animal, but almost insulted. We pulled Kevin back. His leg was bleeding bad, claw marks deep in the thigh. Rob started lighting every flare we had, one by one, chucking them in all directions. For a moment the woods lit up, and we saw it, standing just beyond the flare light. Huge, 7.5 feet, maybe more, covered in dark soaking hair, shoulders like a grizzly, legs like a man, and hands that could crush a skull. It watched us, then it turned and vanished into the fog. At sunrise the rain slowed. We used what little strength we had to rig a stretcher from fallen branches and rope and carried Kevin downhill until we found an old ranger station, long abandoned but still standing. There, Rob's ham radio finally got signal. A rescue team hiked in by noon. They called it a bear attack. The ranger looked at the wounds and shrugged, but he wouldn't look us in the eyes. On the ride back, Rob said one thing. You ever think maybe those yellow papers had it right all along? I didn't answer. Back home, Linda said I looked 10 years older. I didn't argue. I still work on the charger, still slide under the hood to escape the noise of the world. But I don't hike anymore, not in places where the fog is thick and the trees grow too tall, because I know what's out there and it's still watching. Something was waiting in the pines, as told by Daniel Rambo. If you've ever felt truly haunted, you'll know what I mean when I say the woods can turn on you. 1 minute, you are laughing with your friends, thinking about sandwiches and the view from the summit, and the next, the trees aren't trees anymore. They're hiding places. Every shadow's got teeth. My name's Daniel Rambo. Yeah, I know, Rambo. You can imagine the jokes, especially since I'm a cook, not a soldier. I run a lunch kitchen in Boston. Greasy spoons, diner classics, grilled cheese and tomato soup, that sort of thing. I'm not what you'd call a woodsman. But every now and then, I get sick of the clatter of pots and sizzle of bacon grease. That's when I call up a few old friends and we head out somewhere green, somewhere quiet. This time we chose the Catskills Mountains in New York. I'd been there once before with my uncle when I was a kid. He taught me how to skip stones and not touch poison ivy. But this trip, well, this one taught me something else entirely. It was supposed to be a single-day hike, just a few hours up a marked trail, enjoy the view, and head back to the truck before sunset. There were 5 of us. Me, Tommy, who works in drywall, Pete, a mechanic, Jason, former Marine, and Louis, an old buddy from high school who sells insurance and always overpacks like we're crossing Antarctica. The weird thing? It was the middle of August, and it had snowed. Not deep snow, but enough to dust the trees, enough to make you see breath. The trail was icy in places, which made no sense. I mean, global warming, right? But we figured it was just one of those freak weather things you hear about in the mountains. The ranger at the station even warned us. Weather's gone strange up there lately. We laughed it off. Big mistake. We started around 10 a.m. Spirits were high. I had a backpack with some sandwiches, a pocket knife, and a thermos of coffee. Jason had his always within reach survival gear: knife, hatchet, fire starter. Pete had a crowbar, don't ask me why. Said he liked the weight. Tommy had one of those collapsible batons. Louis, of course, brought bear spray and some weird pepper ball gun he bought online. Said it was non-lethal, but painful. I only mentioned that because we ended up using all of it later. The first half of the hike was fine. Cold, sure, but beautiful. Snow on pine branches, sunlight sparkling off the frost. It was quiet, peaceful, until it wasn't. It started with the silence. Not the usual forest quiet, I mean dead silence. No wind, no birds, no crunch of branches under squirrels or chipmunks. Just the sound of our boots on frost-covered ground and the occasional sniffle. Then we started hearing something else. A crack, a rustle, something heavy, but every time we stopped, it stopped too. At first we thought it was an echo. Then Jason, who doesn't spook easy, held up his hand. "We're not alone," he said. I tried to brush it off, but I'd read something about this once. In a weird hunting magazine I found at a gas station diner. The cover said Bigfoot, truth in the trees. I picked it up as a joke, but the stories inside stuck with me. They said he watches first, follows, waits. I remember that article, how he always stays just out of sight. I didn't say anything at the time, but I felt it. Something was watching us. It got worse after lunch. We were taking a break on a clearing near some large boulders when Tommy noticed tracks. Not deer, not bear. They looked like human footprints, but bigger, and barefoot, in the snow. "Who the hell walks barefoot out here?" Louis asked, half laughing. Jason knelt down, measuring with one hand, 14 inches at least. Pete muttered, "That ain't no prank." The tracks led in a semicircle around us. Not toward us, not away, around. That's when the trees felt too close. We decided to turn back. Snow had started falling again. Thick wet flakes that stuck to your clothes. Visibility dropped, and we realized we couldn't find the trail markers. "We passed that fallen tree already?" Louis asked. "No," Jason said. "That tree was snapped the other way." More tracks, some old, some fresh, all surrounding us. We weren't just being followed, we were being herded. That's when we saw it. A flash between the trees, massive upright, covered in brownish black hair, shoulders like a bear, arms long enough to swing past its knees. We froze. It didn't. It stepped behind the tree and disappeared. Jason hissed, "Move!" We started running, half sliding over rocks and roots, not knowing which way was right anymore. The snow blurred everything. Then we heard a roar, not like a lion, but not like a bear. It was deeper, bone-shaking, ancient. We huddled beneath a rocky outcrop and tried to stay quiet. Jason lit a flare from his bag. The red light flickered across the snow, casting long, twitching shadows. Then came the crash. A tree, a whole tree, came down maybe 20 feet from us. Something had ripped it out or pushed it hard enough to fall. We saw it again, closer this time. Its eyes reflected like an animal's, but it wasn't an animal. It was a thing, taller than any man. Its face was wrong, too flat, too wide, like someone smashed a gorilla into a human and shaved neither. We had no choice but to stay put for the night. We stacked rocks, made a tiny fire, took shifts. Jason swore it would wait until night to attack. Said predators like that don't waste energy unless it's dark. He was wrong. Around 2 a.m., something slammed into our little rock shelter. It didn't try to break in, just to scare us. It roared, pounded on the stone. We could hear it circling again. Jason threw the flare. Pete swung his crowbar into the dark. I remember clutching my pocket knife like it was a damn sword. Then Louis fired a pepperball gun blindly into the trees. A scream, not like an animal but like a man in pain, echoed through the forest. It had been hit, not badly but enough. Morning came, fog hung low. Snow was lighter now, melting into slush. We followed a small stream downhill, hoping it would lead to the main trail. It did, eventually. We reached the road by noon, muddy, exhausted, scraped up. Jason had a twisted ankle, Tommy was in shock. I don't even remember walking. We told the ranger we got lost, left out the rest. But I still see it, in my dreams, in my nightmares. Every time the kitchen door creaks open, in the diner when no one's there. That magazine I read, it wasn't wrong. He's out there, still watching.